everybody. Welcome to another episode of Ask Nutritionist Deepa. I'm Nutritionist Deepa here, and I have with me today Mr. Dave Sherwin, who is a fellow podcaster and a health nut. He loves everything about health and wellness and feels equally passionate about it, just like me. So, Dave, welcome to our episode of Ask Nutritionist Deepa.
Yeah, it's an honor. I love what you're doing, your podcast and all the different segments you do on various questions. I think this is really great.
Yeah, what got my attention when when your office reached out to me for the guest request was that the different things you are doing, and that's what I like about, because wellness and health has so many different facades. So it's very important that we don't get deep and narrow into one, but address the have little more holistic approach about overall health. And today's topic, the challenges of long-term weight loss, is all about that. And I'm so glad that you have some insight into that particular topic.
Yeah, I do. We launched a weight loss program in 2009. So 12 years now, we've been doing weight loss. So we've had well over 100,000 customers, and the amount of feedback we've gotten and the challenges people have gone through and the different times I've talked to people even on the phone, and I do private consulting for free for our clients just to help them, because I've come to realize just how hard and tricky that this world is. And for those of you out there who have no trouble with weight loss and you just love to go to the gym and you eat right, you probably don't understand that people who have different genetics than you, different family situation than you, different upbringing than you, who struggle with weight loss, it is really, really hard. And that's one of the life lessons I've learned over the last 12 years is it's not easy. Now, it's doable, of course. And yet it just can be a lot more difficult for some people than others for whatever reason.
Absolutely. Because like you said, it's a lifestyle change, right? That goes into achieving weight loss, and life happens, and people who are doing they are doing well, they feel motivated, and something happens and they derail. So and that's the reality of weight loss, or to some extent that's a reality of managing any chronic condition. Is that up and down and the challenges that one faces in the process.
Yeah, absolutely. And part of what I'll be talking about here, and part of the science behind the difficulty of weight loss, is the fact that we tend to not be very honest with ourselves. And this is in a variety of different ways. And social scientists study this, and it's a very interesting area. But one of the things is we tend to look at ourselves, we tend to think that we should always be at our best, for example. And so when we get down or depressed or we lose our motivation, we think, what's wrong with me? And of course, there's really nothing wrong with you. You're a human being. And to think that you can always be up and always have perfect self-control and never eat a donut if you're tempted by a donut is highly unlikely for a lot of people. And so, kind of step one for a lot of people along the lines of what you just said is just accepting and embracing your humanity and understanding that people who seem to be in much better health than you, oftentimes, if you could pull back the curtain and see what they really eat and how they live on a day-to-day basis, it might really give you a lot of hope, because there's very few perfect eaters. And so I think that one concept of embracing that it's normal to be down sometimes, it's normal to have setbacks, and that having a healthy mindset of accepting what we go through in our life a little bit more tolerantly, being a little more patient with ourselves is often step one for people.
Absolutely. I mean, we tend to judge ourselves little too much. It's like, oh my God, am I looking perfect? Is my hair just right? Am I doing this correctly? I think we put ourselves under microscope little too much, and that brings unhappiness, shall I say?
Yes, and we do the opposite. So, for example, most people overestimate the fitness they'll gain from their exercise and underestimate how much food they eat on a daily basis. For example, it takes a lot of really hard work to burn calories. I'll give you a quick example. I love the rowing machine. I'm 55 years old now. And so I'm trying to do less impact type of exercise, trying to stay fit without being injured. And so I do a lot of low impact type of exercise. And the rowing machine is great. But when you do a really hard row, some of these like a high interval workout on the rowing machine, in 15 minutes, you can be absolutely just dead, like crawling up in the fetal position beside the rowing machine and cry for a few minutes before you go have a shower. Okay. And I once did a workout like that. I'm on a program right now called a Sensei that's helping me, get faster on the rower. And I finished this 15-minute workout. It was hard, Deepa. I mean, literally, I fell off the machine. And I looked back at it and I had burned 240 calories. Okay. Now, that happens to be exactly how many calories are in a Dr. Pepper 12-ounce size soda, right?
God.
And so when you think about that you can really, really work hard in the gym and burn 240 calories and then drink that many as you're driving home.
And the drinking is so easy.
Yes.
It's much easy.
Drinking a Dr. Pepper is real easy and fast.
And you are not, eventually you will exhausted after drinking that can of pop, but at least you are not in immediate agony like you are after your rowing machine.
Yeah, that's right. And so you see this discrepancy, right? So you tend to think, oh, I drank a Dr. Pepper. That's no big deal. But it is a big deal because nutrition is 80% of weight loss and exercise is 20%. And so getting those ratios right is critically important. And so we have to start paying more attention to our diet. And of course, the fitness helps because it does other things besides burn calories. But again, the main point that we started here with was the mindset. So we got to be careful we don't sabotage our efforts by having really great fitness and exercise going on, but then sneaking in calories that we didn't account for that are working against our fitness regimen.
Absolutely. No, that is a really good comparison of, the food versus machine, so to speak, and how that battle can be won. So what's your second tip for us then?
Actually, we jumped into number 2 because that was just a nice place to start because of where the conversation was going. Number 1 is actually that most people are too sedentary. And so what's happening is our modern society has created a situation where many people can make a living without moving very much. And of course, that's very different than what happened with our grandparents and great-grandparents and ancient ancestors. They had to move to support themselves. They built their own homes. They hunted for their food. They grew their food. They were active and constantly moving. And we are just too sedentary. And so we need to be moving on a regular basis. Those of us that work at a desk, we need to try to get away from that desk at least once an hour. And if you can, even do a few squats or a couple sit-ups or push-ups or stretching, or if you're in an office building, just walk the stairs for a few minutes or walk around the campus that you work at. So we want to really avoid long stretches of being sedentary and interject simple movement throughout the day.
Yeah, it's very important that we want those simple movements. We don't necessarily need to have the latest and the greatest equipment to be fit, or even leave our house, right, at this point. So these are really good ideas. That number 1, if you control what you are eating, then the exercise you are going to do is going to be more beneficial because at least you are not working for that can of Coke, or soda.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we are kind of always chasing our tail, right? You will never get to burn the excessive calories that your body is accumulating if you are not controlling what you're eating. All right. What's our next tip?
The next one goes back to what we said about not being good judges of ourselves. We think we're better at some things than we are, and we think we're worse at some things than we really are. And social scientists have told us this, like, for example, when they do studies about drivers, how good of a driver are you? all tend to think we're a really excellent driver. And what's really interesting is those people that have had multiple accidents of which it's their fault tend to think they're even better drivers than people who've had no accident, and which is really interesting.
Yes.
Now, one of the areas that we as human beings tend to underestimate is portion sizes. Now, what's happened is over time in our modern society, as we've eaten more at restaurants and as grocery stores have shifted from just selling boxes of food and loaves of bread and things like that and groceries to providing delicatessens and other areas where we can buy, pre-made chicken nuggets or whatever the case might be. So what's happening is a lot of our food is pre-prepared for us, and a lot of people eat out. And portions have grown significantly. The size of the plates and the amount of food put on there. And what we find, social scientists tell us that when we look at a plate of food or when we serve ourselves at a buffet, we tend to not know what a good sized portion is. And so again, it's super easy to put too many potatoes on your plate. That's a quick example. It's same with meat. A lot of people, if you love meat, it's very easy to take much more than you should be taking to keep your weight in check. And so there's a simple rule, and I learned this in my health certification, which is in precision nutrition, which is one of the top 5 health certifications in the world. And it's why I took it, because I really love their MO, and they teach things in a very simple way. And this is one of them. If you take your fist and close your fist, that's about the size of a carb you should have in a single meal.
Yeah.
No bigger. Now, I'm a 6'2" tall man. I weigh 195 pounds. And yet, if you look at my fist, it's about the size of a medium potato.
Yeah.
Okay. But normally, before I learned these things, I would put 2 potatoes on my plate at a Sunday dinner. That's pretty normal for me. And I did not realize that that's just too much starchy carbs in a single meal, even though it's healthy food. More than a fist is too much. Now, if you look at your palm, that's about how much protein you want with each meal. Now, for a large person, that might be 3 eggs, for example, or 4 to 6 ounces of meat. And you can eyeball it, like a piece of chicken may be differently shaped than your palm, but you can get a pretty good idea. If you just kind of look at your palm and look at the piece of chicken, it's probably not 3 pieces of chicken. Do you see what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And then again, we also have excessive access to food. Grocery stores are open 24/7. And now with the internet card, everything can be dropped within 2 hours.
So we have that.
Everything, so that I think access to food is really a bad thing for us right now.
It really is, especially when we have a kitchen that we can go to anytime that we want to. One of the things I'm teaching my customers, and we have something called the Nairobi Undiet, Deepa, which is goes deeper into some of these things we're talking about. And one of the things we teach people is to do intermittent fasting. And I'm sure you're familiar with it. And you've probably talked about it on your show, so I won't spend a lot of time on it. For those who don't know about it, just Google it. There's lots of great information. But one key to intermittent fasting is eating all your food within a certain eating window. Let's say you delay breakfast till 10 o'clock and eat dinner at 6 p.m. Well, what you're doing, I talked about our ancient ancestors, right, who didn't have refrigerators or freezers and had to take a little time in the morning before they could get food. And often they lived in compliance with their circadian rhythm, the rhythm of the earth. Right. So when it started getting dark, they start to get tired and sleep. They didn't have a fridge to go to at 11 o'clock at night. Right. And so what we find is that if you can kind of go back in time somewhat and delay your breakfast and stop eating. Now, drink water after you stopped eating at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock at night. But this one tip, Deepa, for people who aren't doing intermittent fasting, just stop eating after dinner. could be a huge difference in weight loss
I
right
think
there.
so. I mean, I'm a big believer of fasting. Even if anybody starts with 12 hours, and gradually increase it to 13 and 14 and 15, 16, that's just phenomenal. So that's again is a very good tip, that giving your body a chance to kind of work harder, and boost your metabolism to utilize the calories that you have accumulated during the day. Because nighttime snacking, and again that nighttime snacking goes into emotional eating, coping, another challenge of weight loss.
Absolutely. And
Self-sabotage with my patients. They're like, I don't know, Deepa, why I stopped by and had a milkshake. So
900 calories.
yes,
900 calories in a milkshake.
exactly.
Yeah. And so this one thing, and for those of you listening that just don't want to do intermittent fasting yet, I get it. It was really hard for me to start. I started about 3 years ago, and the first few months was quite difficult, but I stayed at it. And after a while, my whole metabolism, my desires for food, everything changed, Deepa. I went from craving food at night and finding it really difficult to resist, to now it's the opposite. Someone puts something in front of me and I have no desire to eat it. And so it took me, I would say 60 days, if I remember right, to have that shift. And then I just started to feel so good. I started to sleep better. I started to feel better when I hit the gym in the morning. I felt better when I was meditating. Back to fasting, ancient traditions of all types talk about fasting for spirituality. Now, I don't want to give a Sunday school lesson here, but I'll just tell you, I'm a meditator and I've had a meditation practice for 5 years. And when I started fasting, even just stopping dinner at 6 p.m., I found I felt better and more connected and more spiritually fulfilled in a fasted state when I meditated. And that's something that people could test for themselves. But
and that's your mindfulness right there, right?
Yes. Yeah.
This feeds right into that whole mindfulness concept.
Absolutely. And that helps. I mean, one of our number 2 health principle in our Undiet is eat slowly and mindfully.
Yes.
Right. I mean, we don't have enough time to go through, every dietary principle in the world, but this, again, just to touch on this, when we do things slowly and mindfully, we tend to do them better. We do them with less anxiety. We have less cortisol released. And let's face it, out there in the modern world right now, people are rushing about from one thing to another. Their cortisol is spiked. Their melatonin doesn't raise in the evening so that they can sleep very well. They're in a constant flight or fight state of mind. And I'm not pointing the finger at anyone else. I'm the same as everyone. I deal with all the same struggles and issues as anybody else. And I just try to deal with them the best I can, like anybody else. But these principles all tie together.
Yes.
When you get your eating in a rhythm and you exercise on a regular basis and you take breaks and move throughout the day and you understand how much to eat, man, you start to feel better. You start to look better. You start to have more energy, have better relationships. All of these things raise our entire quality of life.
Absolutely. So, I'm so glad that being the certified fitness nutrition coach, you are not into, oh, just do it, type of message. You are helping people acknowledge that, hey, there are going to be challenges on this journey, and it's okay to fall off the wagon, but get back on the wagon, and eventually the falling off gets rare and rare, and then it also gets easier to get back on the wagon. And with these strategies like intermittent fasting, mindfulness, eating right kind of food, your brain chemicals also start to balance. Hormonally, you start to balance, and it's like a puzzle. Things start to come together, but patience is required.
Yes, patience is required. And it just, like you just described, I mean, it gives people a chance to just take a deep breath, realize they don't have to do anything crazy. They don't have to eat less than 50 carbs a day for the next little while. They don't have to do anything that's really going to make them uncomfortable or difficult. The exercise that they choose should be something they enjoy. The foods they eat get to be stuff they buy from a normal grocery store. So everything that I teach and everything that I'm trying to do I'm trying to do things personally and teach things to my clients that are easy and simple
Yes.
and sustainable so that they can continue doing them for a long time. So they catch a vision of, oh, that sounds like I can do it. It's not expensive. It's not hard. I don't have to make major changes in my habits. We're making tweaks, but they can catch the vision that the tweaks actually compound together. Like, for example, you talked about hormone balancing. That's a critical thing for men and women. Our hormones tend to be jacked up because of many of the things that I just mentioned. And when you stop eating after dinner, well, your body gets to digest the food, and then the hormone melatonin starts to rise so that you feel sleepy. Now you go to sleep, and during your sleep, your HGH goes up, your estrogen goes up, your testosterone goes up, and in the morning you wake up with low blood sugar, hormones in a great and balanced state, and they stay that way. And so it's a great time to meditate, to exercise, to plan your day, to think through what's most important to you in your life and what you're trying to accomplish, setting your goals, etc. And then just delay your breakfast a little bit. And then when you eat, those hormones will start to go down and the blood sugar goes up.
Yeah.
But you see how all these things happen. So now you're getting a better sleep. And when you get a better sleep, that's another important aspect of weight loss. So it's a virtuous cycle. It's a virtuous cycle that feeds on itself, making you better and better and better in multiple different ways through just adjusting your physical habits.
Absolutely. So, Dave, you are doing such amazing work, great results with your clients. Where can people find you?
We have a website called dirobi.com, dirobi.com. And there's some great resources there. We've touched on a few of them here on the show, Deepa, but I'd love for people to download. We have a PDF guide on our resources page. It's 10 pages that goes in deeply into this concept that I've been talking about with 7 principles that you can follow. There's another one. I just barely touched on something that we call the virtuous cycle.
Okay.
And there's a download. You can just click on and hit print and put it on your fridge called the Virtuous Cycle PDF. That gives you a lot of this information in a one page where you got to put on the fridge and see how throughout the day, and it has like a circle of the 24 hours of how all these things complement each other. And then we're going to create a coupon code for your listeners as well. So make sure that those of you listening pay attention to Deepa's newsletter, and we'll create a 10% off coupon code. So if you'd like to purchase anything while you're there, that would be wonderful. We have a phenomenal high-end range of dietary supplements. We have the weight loss product I talked about,
yes.
But we also have a wonderful multivitamin, mineral blend. We have the top-selling digestive aid on Amazon. A lot of people don't know that. Well, not top digestive aid, but that for malabsorption issues. Many people can't absorb certain foods and they don't know why. We have a product called Eat Anything RX. Those of you that eat and then experience stomach pain, bloating, and even after healthy foods, there's a good chance you have a malabsorption issue. And so that might be a product that you want to try if you struggle with digestion. So that's just a handful of ideas and things we have on the site, but we'll create that code.
This sounds like a very, very nice, very appropriate product line, because a lot of people are, suffer with GI issues. I mean, the role of digestive health in weight loss is a conversation in itself, and I'm sure you and I can sit here and talk whole day long about it. But Dave, thank you for coming here and sharing your knowledge of how to start the process of successful weight loss, and how to start the virtuous cycle of weight loss and get out of the vicious cycle of weight loss and achieve your health. I do thank you for being here today, and appreciate all your time and your knowledge, and we'll have you back again sometime soon.
Well, that would be great. I love what you're doing, Deepa. I think your channel is phenomenal in the way you're answering questions and giving really high level information to people. And so it's an honor for me to be invited and be on your show. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.